Hey y'all, back with another one for you. So, I'm sure you've all heard Henry Cavill is no longer playing Superman and that Dwayne The Rock Johnson is no longer playing Black Adam, most likely. Or at least he's not involved in this chapter of storytelling that DC Studios is currently doing. What seems to be happening is that they are going to reintroduce a new Superman with a younger actor playing a younger Superman, like a year two Superman, similar to how Robert Pattinson's Bruce Wayne was in The Batman. Now, this is not unprecedented for DC's. It's unprecedented for DC Studios, but not for DC in general. They've done this before. They needed to do a full reset, but they didn't want to get rid of a lot of the established history and characters that they already built up. So, what they did was say that all the stuff you saw in these original comics, this Flash, this Superman, this Batman, all of them were on Earth 2. Now we're focusing on Earth 1 with a different Superman, Batman, Flash, Justice League, and everyone else. It's entirely new. It's different. And that was actually the establishing of the multiverse, something that hasn't really been talked about in the current DCU. What they could do with Henry Cavill stepping down as Superman is, who probably at some point later in his life, later in his career, would maybe be interested in coming back. What they could do is start all new, okay? Start completely from the beginning. And then later on down the line, once it's a more established franchise, have the Crisis on Infinite Earths, okay? The Arrowverse touched on it, did this already, but with the bigger budget and the power of the studios behind them, this could actually be done right. Crisis on Infinite Earths on the Arrowverse wasn't bad, but it was not what it should have been when you compare it to the actual comic event. But they could bring Henry Cavill back playing an older Superman, possibly a Kingdom Come variation. Hell, possibly even a Superman 1 million. But I doubt they would go that far. Ben Affleck, possibly, if people want to be involved, bring him back, possibly even playing, or even possibly bring in Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Thomas Wayne again from an alternate universe where, Bruce Wayne was the one that unfortunately got shot in that alley and his parents survived. And for those of you that know about that story, you know that Martha Wayne became the Joker, Thomas Wayne became the Batman, and Bruce Wayne was unfortunately killed by Joe Chill in that alley instead of his parents. So that was the story of Flashpoint. Well, that's what happened in Flashpoint, I believe. All because, Barry Allen couldn't stop messing with the timeline, so. But who knows? And then the whole Flash movie, we don't know if that's going to tie into the old DCU, the new DCU, somehow split them both. DC's in a weird place. But they could definitely do a Crisis on Infinite Earths at some point, probably in like the next 5 or 10 years, after they establish this new franchise a bit more. DC kind of shot themselves in the foot by starting out and trying to do the opposite of what the MCU is doing, where MCU gave everyone their own solo movies and then built to a large team-up event like the Avengers movies. DC wanted to do the opposite because they didn't want to see what they were copying, but it unfortunately did not work out for them because they said, hey, let's throw all of them in together and then have their origins, dispersed through movies. It's like, well, we didn't need it at this point. So what a lot of these movie studios should be doing is, one, stop focusing on origin stories. We don't need it. Especially if you're doing someone like Batman, Superman, any of the X-Men. Basically any of like those names that pop into your head when you hear the word superhero or comic book hero, anything like that. If a certain face or name pops into your head, you probably don't need to know their origin story because most likely you've seen it 1,000 times. We don't need redos, okay? We don't need reboots and constant rehashes. Just move on. Go do something else. Just give us a story that we haven't seen, and that will keep us interested. Now, hopefully DC can get this right. I feel like they kind of smartened up and realized that Dylan. Not saying that Dwayne Johnson is a bad person or anything like that. Just that I feel like he lets his ego drive a lot of his actions, and that he tends to push a bit more on these film studios, and it ends up not working out for him. That was my phone. Sorry, wish that had went off. But yeah, I feel like it doesn't end up working out for him because the last few franchises that he was, because he's supposedly franchised Viagra. That's what he called himself. The last few franchises that he's supposed to be, boosting up and helping to get going have kind of flopped. Now the Fast and the Furious movies, of course, those series have been going on, like 20 years now. They're not going. I would say they're not going anywhere, but they are purposefully ending their series now. If they wanted to, they could probably keep going, but they're ending with the 11th movie, which I believe comes out in another year or two after Fast X or Fast 10, which should be called Fast 10 Your Seatbelts or something like that. I don't know. So Dwayne ain't really pulling them in the way they should, and I feel like he really made Black Adam one that Black Adam was supposed to be interesting. And then Dwayne basically talked to the studio and was like, hey, I don't really want to do that. Can he get his own movie at some point? And they're like, sure, you're The Rock, we'll do that for you. And then the movie came out and it really wasn't as good as, it could have and should have been for such a badass character, and how, Mr. Johnson had talked about it for so long, hyped it up that it was going to be one of the most badass, best comic book movie ever, and he couldn't wait to bring this character to life. And then it was basically just The Rock being Rock, but with superpowers. Like, not saying he was out here, giving hitting folks to people's elbow and rock bottoms and whatnot, but most movies it seems like he's playing the same guy, just in a different situation, which can only get you so far. And I feel like that's why a lot of his movies have not been hitting as well as they should have lately. But whatever, I'm not here to talk about The Rock today. DC, you got a perfect layout. Okay, you got a perfect lineup right now of a storyline to go ahead with. Now, if you guys want, they are deciding to go with the younger Superman, and hopefully, unfortunately, with them having a younger Superman, I feel like they're going to go towards like the New 52, which for those of you that are, that know about it, wasn't the best event to happen in comics, and it was just not. I'm sorry, I'm biased. I hated the New 52. It kind of sucked. Outside of some cool character redesigns, the New 52 sucked. Sorry, DC. Whoops. Sue me. But yeah, fuck that. Even DC knows that the New 52 sucked. Whatever, they understand. That's why they, got rid of it so quickly. I was like, yeah, we need to reboot this universe again. But yeah, DC is in a weird spot that could turn out amazing, or could possibly lead to the just a very premature end of their entire project. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that's saying, Warner Brothers Discovery, now that now that they've merged, are actually hiding the fact that they are essentially a cash poor company, and that they're on the decline. They are constantly, in case you guys haven't noticed, most of the Arrowverse shows, they weren't canceled because of ratings. Some were, some were faltering on their ratings, but they weren't canceled because of the ratings. They were canceled because of like budgetary concerns and constraints. Pretty much saying there wasn't enough money to go around, so they had to cancel more and more and more and more. Which is why a lot of the shows that were on the CW now are gone. Like even shows that we like 1, maybe 2 seasons and then end on a massive cliffhanger, and now they're gone. And you're never gonna see them again because DC, the WB is probably not bringing them back. But who knows? I'm not some, Hollywood insider that knows what's going on with these companies or anything. I wish I was. Man, I wish I was. But yeah, I have no idea. This is just from different things that I've read, different reports and articles that I've seen online. And I'm really hoping that DC can, I keep saying DC, but it's not just DC, it's the people above them, because DC is owned by Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers is going through a lot, so who knows. I'm just really hoping that they can get it together, build a viable and exciting franchise, and hopefully give Marvel some competition. Because outside of Marvel, when it comes to superhero movies, there's basically no one else. Like Bloodshot came out, which I believe was from Image Comics. Is he from Image or Valiant? I think he's Image Comics. Yeah, but came out from Image, and that's pretty much like the only thing. Now there are supposed to be some other Image comic movies coming out, hoping, building up and establishing their cinematic universe as well, which I'm a fan of. Like I haven't had the chance to read everything and all of like the big major stuff from everything I've seen. I've not seen anything out of it. So I'm good with that. I liked the Bloodshot movie. It was cool. Wasn't bad. I liked the premise of it, like the action. So I'm hoping that more comic companies can start really building cinematic universes and compete with Marvel. Competition breeds creativity. Creativity breeds paychecks, baby. Like, show us something we haven't seen and you will put asses in seats. Okay? Plain and simple. You give us tired old cliches, no one wants to see that, your movie will fail. But show us something that we have not seen, we will be sitting there with Raisinets, popcorn, big old things of nachos, ready to just go on this cinematic adventure. So, just really hoping that DC can get it together and give the House of Ideas a real challenge, because man, Marvel's kind of running stuff. Like even their stinkers, unfortunately, do better than pretty much every DC movie, even the good ones. I don't know why I air quoted good ones like they're all bad or something. I'm sorry. But I think that's it from you guys. I will catch you guys later. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. Be safe. Be well. And I will see you back in the next one. Catch a ride.